Hey, welcome back to Spellbound. I'm BJ the Book Witch, and this is my March TBR. Okay, so we've got a lot happening in this episode. I'm sharing my March TBRs, and some of those TBRs will be chosen by an oracle deck, and one I'm going to be choosing to be in line with the astrological forecast for the month. And finally, we've got our monthly giveaway, which will be featuring a blind date book provided by the Matchmaking Librarian. So let's get started. Okay, so last month I planned to read 17 books and I only made it to 15. So this month I'm just planning on reading 11 books just to make sure that I can get through them all, but I'm sure that I'll be reading ahead and I'll cover a lot more ground than that. Next weekend is going to be my February. Guys. Next month will be my February wrap up. February wrap up. Literally just me here. Next month will be my Feb wrap-up where I talk about all the books that I did read, and I'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'll give my ratings for them and then defend my ratings for them. But in the meantime, my reviews are going to be on Goodreads, and there's a link in the description box below. So in fiction, I plan to read Remembrance by Rita Woods. This was recommended by Jessie over at Bowties and Books as part of Blackathon, and I really wanted to get to it last month, but I just didn't have time. So I've added it as my fiction pick for this month. This is historical fiction, and typically I don't read a lot about historical fiction or really any of my books before I get them and put them on my TBR, because then I'll just go on a research kick and I'll want to know everything about it before I even get into the story. So honestly, I don't know that much about it, but I've heard that it's great for fans of the Underground Railroad, and I understand that it is told from multiple points of view and it spans several different timelines, which I'm a big fan of. Last month I read something similar to this in construction on a much smaller scale, and it was The 12 Tribes of Addie by Ayanna Mathis, and I really enjoyed that setup. So I think that I'm really going to enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to it. In YA, I'm picking up The Secret Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So I was first introduced to V.E. Schwab by my content team book club at Disney, and we read the Darker Shade of Magic series, which we accidentally kept referring to as Magic the Gathering. That's not true. It was only one of us, and you know who you are. Anyway, I really liked her writing style, even though the series itself wasn't my favorite, so I really am excited to pick up another V.E. Schwab book in particular. From what I understand, this is about a girl who makes a deal with the devil, or a devil-like dude, so that she can live forever, but the catch is that no one remembers her. So I'm really intrigued by the premise, and I'm all about a good Faustian setup. In middle grade, I'm reading Circus, Mirandus by Cassie Beasley. So to be honest, I don't know a lot about this book because, like I've said, I don't really look into books too much ahead of time. But that being said, I do get hooked easily, especially by cover art or just very simple synopses. And this book is about a magical circus and a guy who says that he can bend light. And based on that, I'm sold. My spiritual book is, once again, The Tao of Pooh and the Tay of Piglet. So, spoiler, I didn't get to it last month, so I'm trying again. I have read The Tao of Pooh before, but I haven't read The Tay of Piglet. And essentially, Benjamin Hoff discusses the principles of Taoism through the characters of Winnie the Pooh. It is delightful and enlightening. My thriller for this month is The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. So I read In a Dark, Dark Wood last year, and I really liked Ruth Ware's writing style. So I picked up a few more of her mystery thrillers to read throughout this year. This one in particular is about a tarot reader who is bequeathed a small inheritance or fortune from a very distant family member, and through that she starts to uncover and unravel some family secrets. So I love a good family drama. I'm excited for this one. In YA series, I'm continuing with the Graceling series by Kristin Cashore by picking up her second installment, Fire. Graceling was our book club pick of the month last month, and I was surprised at how much I loved it, so I am really looking forward to continuing this series with Fire. The book just hasn't come in yet, so I'm going to start reading it on the Kindle. So in romance, I'm trying Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This is a high school pen pals hate to love situation, and I checked ahead of time, and somebody dies in this book. So sign me up. I don't think it's one of the main characters, so if you wanted to read this, you're safe to do so. Okay, so that's 7 so far. For the next 4, I wanted to do something a little bit different and hopefully incorporate this into some future TBRs, and that is use an oracle deck or a tarot deck to help me choose a few more books and to pull from some of the energy or astro forecasts that I follow to choose a plotline or topic that I think is in line with that. I wanted to incorporate some more witchy elements into the Book Witch channel, so let's give this a shot. First, oracle cards. So I'm really softballing this one because this is our first month and I didn't want to launch in with some really abstract imagery here. So for the first time, I chose the Literary Witches Oracle deck. And what better time to bust this out than Women's History Month? So this deck is pretty neat. It's a 75 card deck and it's pretty evenly split between women's authors. And I do believe there is a fair amount of diversity in here, which is pretty cool, and objects that are commonly found in books. So let's give this a shot. House. So since I don't really look too much into books before I buy them, this is going to be pretty difficult because I'm not sure about any books that have a house as a focal point. I'm tempted to go with the Elsewhere series by Jacqueline West because I do know that that series is about a house, but that's a middle grade and I already have a middle grade for this month. What I don't have is a classics or a lit fiction, so I'm gonna have to think about this for a minute. Okay, I found something. So this collection by Agatha Christie actually features a novel or a novella, I'm not sure, called Crooked House. And this has gone on far too long, so I'm gonna go with this one. Shirley Jackson. Awesome. So Shirley Jackson, this one is easy. She's one of my favorite authors. I have a whole stack of hers that's in my TBR, and I picked the first one. It is a collection of shorts, and the collection is called Dark Tales, which sounds appropriate. Book. Believe it or not, this one's actually pretty tricky. I don't know any of these books that are about books. I read one in January, The 10,000 Doors of January, and that would have been a great choice for this card. But I have an idea for this one. It's just not on my shelf. It's in my brother's library, so I'm gonna go check that one out. And that's The Midnight Library by Mark Heig, and I have heard so many good things about this book. I'm not a professional actor. Okay, so let's talk astrology. And first of all, I'm not here to convince you or persuade you to believe in astrology because it doesn't matter if you do or if I do for that matter, because astrology is fun. Stars are constants, and the patterns of stars is something that has been charted and mapped out since the beginning of time. And it's one of the few constants in this world, which personally I find comforting. And the way that people and cultures have developed stories to make meanings of things like the patterns of stars is something that I find inspiring. So if astrology isn't your thing, totally cool. Just skip ahead to the monthly giveaway and you'll see it by the sticker. Okay, so here's the gist of it. Basically, with the sun being in Pisces, Pisces being a water sign and a highly emotional water sign at that, and with Mars entering Gemini, Gemini being the messenger and a worker of words, it's safe to say that communication and the feelings associated with communication is going to be a pretty strong theme for the month. Ways that that could manifest is going to be in making sure that we're expressing ourselves clearly, taking precaution against miscommunication and misunderstandings, acknowledging that when people are more sensitive, then simple misunderstandings can actually grow and fester and have deeper consequences than if they're addressed right away, and challenging our own inner dialogue as well. So some big highlights that really relates to this theme starts on the 4th, and this is when Mercury is in conjunction with Jupiter in Aquarius. So conjunction just means when two or more planets are lined up. Basically, the best of each planet's qualities are working together and their goals are aligned. So Mercury has those mercurial temperamental feelings related to communication, and Jupiter is like big man on campus, right? So in this way, you can expect that a lot of people are talking about a lot of things and they have a lot of passion behind it. It might feel really loud. Everybody has something to say and everybody is choosing to say it. On the 11th, the Sun, Moon, Venus, and Neptune are all hanging out really close together. So these last three, they're the really sensitive guys, the ones that really embrace their feelings. So this may be a time when people are really sensitive and we just need to be mindful of our words. Because during this time, there's a possibility of a misunderstanding due to feelings and a focus on the subtext of what's being said instead of just addressing what's there at face value. And then on the 20th, the sun enters Aries, Aries being the warrior and the fighter for justice and rooting for that underdog. So this is us moving out of a period of communication and feelings and into a period of drastically shifting mindsets and fights for action. But you've got Mars in Gemini and Mercury in Pisces, and they're in a temperamental place with each other. So you've got this bold planet of action and war in a constellation of the twins and the messengers and duality, in opposition to a planet of communication that's in a constellation of deep sensitivity. You've got messages crossing paths here in a field of tension that blurs the line between belief and knowledge. So as that energy starts to shift away from Pisces and into Aries, this is when we as individuals start to discern whether the things that we know are things that we have learned or things that we have been conditioned to believe. Okay, but what does that have to do with choosing a final book for March? Well, I'm seeing a lot of themes here from misunderstanding, talking past each other, and questioning our own internal beliefs. For me, this sounds like a nonfiction book, and I do have one picked out. Jesus and John Wayne, How White Evangelicals Corrupted a Faith and Fractured a Nation by Kristin Dumas. This book is about exactly what it sounds like and how a belief system in nationalism, and more specifically white supremacy, has so thoroughly changed Christianity and the way that it is practiced. Now, I've had my eye on this book for a while, and I am excited to get into it, but I also don't want my first ever astro and energy forecast to lead toward a socio-political nonfiction book, even if it does sound bloody fantastic. Because quite honestly, the themes for this month sound just like a rom-com, don't they? You know, where everybody's feelings are so high and dramatic, and even just a very simple misunderstanding leads to this overly long and drawn out, complicated he said, she said stuff, and all of it could be solved by just a single conversation, but everybody's feelings are too dramatic to go into it. I mean, honestly, I could eat it up. It just sounds like a romance to me. So I don't know a lot of romances off the top of my head, but if this sounds like one that you know of and you think sounds just like this, like a whole thing built on a misunderstanding, then let me know, because I would really love to read it. Because the whole point of this was to choose a book and a plot line based off of the patterns of what's going on in the stars, and it doesn't have to be a serious book. It can be a funny book or a light book or a romance. Honestly, it can just be brain candy. I just don't know that many. So if you have a recommendation about a contemporary romance where there's a simple misunderstanding that gets out of control, then I would really love to hear it. So that's the astro forecast for the month. I'll be interested to see how all of that unfolds this month, but I'll definitely be looking forward to your recommendations. And now it is the happiest moment of the month. It is time for BJ's monthly giveaway. The book this month is a blind date book provided to us by the Matchmaking Librarian. It is a romance, and the keywords are romance, JFK, 4 minutes, and young adult. So this giveaway is going to be on Instagram, so you'll have to be following me there, but the instructions are really simple. Just like, save, and comment on the post that says giveaway, and tell me about a book that has a very simple misunderstanding, or tell me about a book that you think matches up with the astro forecast for this month. That's it. Just like, save, and comment on the post, and you're good to go. The giveaway will last until Saturday, and I will be contacting the winner through Instagram so that I can send them their blind date book from the Matchmaking Librarian. YouTube and Instagram are not affiliated with this giveaway, and the instructions are in the description box below. So that wraps up my March TBRs. If you've read any of these books, if you like them, if you don't like them, leave me a comment below, and definitely let me know if you have a recommendation. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, hit subscribe, because I'll be bringing bookish and witchy content every weekend. Ish. Happy March, happy Women's Month, and as always, happy reading.